Hey guys, Captain Forest here, and today I'm here with a DC Inverse matchup. The cold Killer Frost herself versus the Queen of Ivy's Poison Ivy. Now, this matchup I was supposed to do for a while, I just haven't got around to doing it because I got quite sidetracked and started doing other things. I already did the power scaling videos. I talked about both these characters, all their stats and abilities. So if you guys are not familiar with the scaling, please check out those videos. I'll leave links in the description. Once you guys checked out those videos on Killer Frost and Poison Ivy, you guys can come right back to this video just to kind of brief yourselves on the stats and abilities. But if you guys just want to watch for just entertainment purposes, you're more than welcome to stick around and continue to watch. So now, right off the bat, in terms of like AP and speed, they are pretty relative. So in terms of AP for their hacks and abilities, they should be around like Universal Plus to low multiversal scaling. Killer Frost and Poison Ivy, both of their hacks can affect high tiers like Superman. They can hurt characters like Cyborg, like Wonder Woman. Their powers are definitely shown to affect these high tier beings. Now on paper they look like street tier characters, but once you start to look at their feats that they display, they are practically powerhouses in their own right. But as for speed, they should pretty much be relative. They should both have FTL plus reaction speed. If you want to use higher scaling for DC, because DC has crazy like chain scaling or high ends or wank feats, you could argue MFTL plus, immeasurable speed. That's if you want to go down that alley. But of course, I will stick with the consistency route. So they're pretty relative regardless of how you cut it. So anyway, let's get down into this inverse topic, Raw Inverse, and we'll see who wins more often than not. And let's chop it up. So, now, in this fight, it's quite close. I'll explain for both sides on how they can take victory more often than not. Now, there are arguments for Poison Ivy to take victory. Poison Ivy is connected to the green, which alerts her to any dangers around her, which will allow her to summon vines from the ground to restrain Killer Frost, and she could simply summon an area of effect and bombard Killer Frost with a wave of trees and plant life to completely crush and incapacitate Killer Frost. And Poison Ivy has shown to do this on a planetary scale. She's shown to do this to characters like Crypto. Of course, she's used this against other characters. She's summoned a giant vines and forests like on a town level scale. She's done it pretty casually. So she can definitely reach those types of ranges of area of effect with her plant manipulation. But moving on, unfortunately this method, however, would not be in the best interest for Poison Ivy. In fact, it's quite rather counterintuitive. Killer Frost's strong counters to this is her ability to passively absorb anything that is heat based and life energy from objects or living beings. Killer Frost has shown to casually and passively absorb the energy from a sun and bathed inside of it. Firestorm even states that she could absorb the whole thing if she wanted to. Killer Frost has also shown to absorb the life energy from people such as Cyborg and Superman. She was also able to absorb the energy from one of the Green Lantern's constructs that blasted green energy at her, and she absorbed it quite casually and enjoyed it. Killer Frost even states that she can absorb energy from plants too, which would be very counterintuitive for Poison Ivy, as Killer Frost's ice powers get amped and destructive the more heat and life force she absorbs. Essentially, Poison Ivy would be giving Killer Frost a supply of virtually almost limitless energy if she continued to give her forests. So if Poison Ivy gets the drop on Killer Frost with vines, the vines and the other plant life she throws at Killer Frost would simply wither away, as Killer Frost would absorb all the life from her plants, which would cause Killer Frost's ice powers to become stronger, and Killer Frost would perform a giant area of effect, freezing everything including poison ivy in her path, as Killer Frost's ice freezes you on a cellular level and also affects you physically and spiritually, as her ice was able to affect Eclipso himself, who is a spirit. Now, despite Poison Ivy's precognition, this would not help her very much or very well into this fight. Even if Poison Ivy can summon a forest of trees in the attempts to protect herself from this oncoming attack, the ice is far too potent at this point and would cellularly freeze all of Poison Ivy's defenses, in turn freezing her completely and killing her. And Killer Frost can also transmutate living things into ice, so if the vines or an area of effect comes into play, Killer Frost can just absorb the energy and turn all of Poison Ivy's plant life into ice. Moving on, Poison Ivy also has another way to potentially win this fight, and that's with her pheromones, which affect you on a physical, mental, and spiritual level. These pheromones would affect Killer Frost, as Poison Ivy's pheromones work on both male and female combatants, such as Catwoman, and Poison Ivy's pheromones also cause hallucinations, which in turn would work on Killer Frost, as Killer Frost only has resistance to her mind being affected and wouldn't be able to protect her physical body or soul from these effects, which would render Killer Frost at the complete mercy of Poison Ivy's pheromones. But unfortunately for Poison Ivy, the pheromones wouldn't come into play, as there would be a range disadvantage, as Poison Ivy would need to get close in order for her pheromones to come in effect. The same would also be applied to Poison Ivy's poison, which she'd need to get in close in order for her poison to take effect also. Now, Killer Frost herself has resistance to poison anyway, as she can make her own ice toxic and poisonous, but it wouldn't matter since Killer Frost has the advantage on many other accounts. The AoE for her ice would seal the deal in the end. Overall, I give this to Killer Frost 7.5 to 8 times out of 10. Killer Frost's ice and life energy absorption would prove too much for Poison Ivy to handle. So yes guys, that's pretty much it for my inverse match. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe for further content. But yeah, it's your boy, Captain Forest, signing out. Peace.